Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. It is Monday, February 7th, and this is our weekly Westchester County update, including information about the COVID pandemic. I'll be joined in a few minutes by our Deputy County Executive, Ken Jenkins, who will help go over some of the facts that we want to share with you today about where we stand with the pandemic, and also touch on a couple of other issues that are important. We're very fortunate to have with us, I'm going to bring her on in just a second, our State Attorney General, Letitia James. Tish has done a terrific job on a host of different issues. She'll talk today about some of the statewide activities regarding COVID. She's been a partner with us in dealing with the opioid issue and has generated significant resources for our county and other counties in being able to push back to develop the kind of programs we need to deal with addiction. But before we get to Attorney General James, I just want to very general terms mention that we're seeing a significant drop in the infection level and the widespread nature of the COVID virus. Right now, the Omicron variant, which came into play in late December, early January, skyrocketed the number of active cases. At one point in early January, we reached over 36,000 active cases, which is triple the amount that we had seen in any of the prior variants, the Delta or the Alpha variant. That number is now down to 3,257 cases. That's a tremendous drop, more than a 90% drop from where we were when we were at our peak in January. Number of hospitalizations have dropped from 677 in early January down to 237 today. Those are good news and good indicators. And that's going to drive a host of different other policy discussions to be had. But let me go to our special guest, State Attorney General Letitia James. Tish has served us for the last 4 years as State Attorney General. She has one of her regional offices based here in White Plains. We're very appreciative for Gary Brown and his team that work with the Attorney General on a host of different issues, and we're very happy to have her with us here today. Madam Attorney General, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, George, for inviting me today, and thank you for these weekly briefings. They helped us all keep sane and informed during this moment, so I truly appreciate it. And hello to your constituents, hello Westchester. And thank you for watching and for your patience and your resilience in the face of COVID-19. We will get through this together, and this too, my friends, shall pass. This has been a moment that has tested the souls of all of us. We've lost homes, we've lost friends, and businesses to this extreme weather, and unfortunately to this pandemic. We've lost individuals to opioids and to guns. Unfortunately, we've also seen our democracy under attack, and we have faced a historic pandemic that has stolen work and school relationships, activities, and worse, it has taken people that we love and admire. But I am very hopeful. I will always be hopeful. But I want everyone in Westchester to know that before, during, and after COVID, my office has had your back. We've been working remotely, but we've been very, very productive. As you know, we have 1,800 employees. We have a wonderful office in Westchester headed by Gary Brown. And since COVID hit, we've been working to protect consumers and workers and businesses and to prevent bad actors from using the pandemic as an excuse to take advantage of the people. Individuals who have engaged in price gouging and individuals who are selling all types of products online. We've put a half dozen COVID testing companies on notice that they cannot promise fast turnarounds for tests and fail to deliver. We've demanded refunds for New Yorkers who waited too long for so-called expedited tests. Individuals, businesses who have advertised 24-hour turnaround, or in some cases 48-hour turnaround, and the tests have been delivered a week later. We basically put those companies on notice that they cannot do it, that we would take further action. All of the companies have complied. Today, we are announcing that we forced 2 pharmacies in New York City to pay refunds to their consumers because these companies were illegally charging fees for COVID vaccines. We've secured refunds for New Yorkers who had events canceled due to COVID. One in particular in New Rochelle, the Green Tree Country Club had to pay back more than $400,000 to almost 80 consumers, most of them in the Westchester area. We delivered $3 million to hotel workers fired just before the pandemic hit. The Doral Arrowwood Resort, also in New Rochelle. They were unlawfully terminated without sufficient legal notice, and we were able to get them lost wages to about 250 employees. And before I turn things back over to the county executive, I also want to mention a few other actions that we've taken. As the executive has mentioned, we sued Big Pharma, Purdue, for damages as a result of peddling opioid drugs, which has caused much destruction in Westchester and all throughout the state of New York. We secured $1.5 billion to New Yorkers. And of that $1.5 billion, $19.1 million will go to Westchester County and Yonkers. And all that money will go right back to Westchester's community to fund education and prevention, and to turn back the tide of opioids. I want to thank Senator, the Senate, as well as the Senate, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, as well as Speaker Hasty, and all of the members of the state legislature for placing those funds in a locked box for the purposes of education, treatment, and prevention, so we can prevent this crisis from happening again in our community. And finally, we are confronting gun violence across the state, and right here in Westchester. In September, the county executive and we did a gun buyback in New Rochelle. We were able to take guns off of our streets. It's really critically important that we all work together with the federal government, with state government, and local municipalities to take guns off the street. As a result of our gun buybacks all across the state, the Office of Attorney General has removed over 2,100 guns from the street through gun buybacks, also through gang takedowns and individuals who engage in gun trafficking. It's really critical that we all work together to prevent this from happening and to save lives in the state of New York. Let me conclude by saying that this has been a hard time, but it's also been a time of great hope and inspiration. And I've seen New Yorkers respond to this pandemic with courage, fortitude, and grace. I've seen them pitch to help their neighbors, look in on families and neighbors, and generally keep their spirits up. But I do know that individuals are socially isolated, so please check in on your neighbors, make sure that everyone is safe. That is when we are our best in New York. Let us continue to do that here in Westchester. Westchester County looks out for its neighbors, and I know that you will continue to do that. And so on behalf of the residents of the great state of New York, and along with your county executive, it has been my honor and my privilege to serve you. And I want to thank Westchester County for doing your part. And I want to thank your great county executive, George Latimer, for his continued leadership in economic development and keeping taxes low, and responding to the needs of Westchester County. Everyone, please be safe. I will see you soon in person, and may God continue to bless you. And thank you, County Executive Latimer.
Thank you very much, Madam Attorney General, New York State Attorney General, Letitia James, Tish James. Tish, thank you for your leadership. We look forward to working with you in the days to come and the cooperative efforts between the county and the state. And we're appreciative of your leadership. And as we have done in past weeks when we've invited various city and village mayors to join us here for this update, or town supervisors, so we're very glad to have statewide official. We'll be inviting some of the other major statewide officials, Tom DiNapoli, our state controller, our Governor Kathy Hochul, our United States Senators Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand, Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin, and invite them at various points in time to join us here as well to share what they're doing in their respective responsibilities. Government is not monolithic. There's different levels of it. We each have our different responsibilities, and it's critical for those of us at every one level of government to try to have as good a positive working relationship with those in other levels of government. So the village, the town, and the city levels are important. The state is important. Our federal leaders are important, because at the end of the day, we all represent the same people, and they all have the same basic needs and desires for the services that they pay for in their taxes. So again, thank you, Tish James, for being with us today. Going back to the report, we'll have Ken Jenkins join me here on camera. The hard numbers show some very positive signs. It is now multiple weeks in the making that we've seen a drop in the number of active cases and in the number of the lesser number of hospitalizations. As I stated already, as of our last date, Saturday, we had 237 people hospitalized. That is down from our prior peak of 677 that occurred in January 12th to be specific. That is a good sign, because that is the depth of the infection and the illness. The Omicron has been very infectious. Lots of people have gotten it. President Company included. But many of us, having been vaccinated, had a very mild case or almost an imperceptible case of coronavirus. In this particular case, those people that are hospitalized have it more severely, and to have that severe number drop down to 237 is very good news. The one bad news portion of this is the size and scope of the number of people that were affected by Omicron. Even though the larger number of people got through this unscathed, a larger absolute number of people perished in the month of January and now so far into the first few days of February. Although that rate is starting to drop a little bit, we've had in the last couple of nights very few fatalities. Every fatality is a tragedy. I always want to mention that every time we talk about fatalities. But in the last few days of the month, we've lost just 3 people over the course of 6 days. Over the course of the month of January, we lost people at a much higher rate and percentage. We lost 200 people in the month of January overall, 60 in the month of December, 7 in the month of November. So those numbers spiked up. We expect a major diminution in fatalities for February as we approach the 2-year anniversary of COVID, which will come in the first week of March. However, we also know, without getting the hard specifics that we've asked for from the state, that it is the unvaccinated population that is most vulnerable to this and is the higher percentage of people that have died and have been hospitalized. And so, therefore, we make vaccinations as easy available as is possible and as widespread as is possible. In a few minutes, Ken is going to go over some of the upcoming satellite locations that we have. And as we get into the specifics of it, we know that most people that have been vaccinated intend to be vaccinated have gotten the first dose and the second dose. So much of our priority is on third dose distributions. They've been called booster shots. We understand that the federal government now, the CDC, is advocating 3 shots as the appropriate protocol to fight the disease. And so therefore, it's not boosting anything. It's the third shot that completes your treatment. If that changes, we'll deal with whatever the changes that medical science directs us to. But the third shot is the area where we do not have the same level of involvement, and so we're encouraging everybody to do that. Those of us who have not yet done that third shot are scheduled to do it, and we'll make sure we cover that with you. We have offered free COVID-19 vaccines in our White Plains and Yonkers locations. We have Westchester County Center is a location for both testing and vaccination in White Plains, central location right on the border of Greenburgh, easily reachable from the Bronx River Parkway or I-287. It has been a vaccination center for us now for well over a year. And now the county is operating that center with the assistance and the testing side of Quadrant Services and through our own health department on the vaccination side. And then also in Yonkers at our clinic, which is 20 South Broadway, on the second floor. And that's right in the heart of Yonkers, easily accessible in that Getty Square downtown area of Yonkers. There are certain set times by appointment only that we are trying to make available. We do not have the same 11-hour a day, 7 days a week vaccination situation that we had before when the demand was very high. Back, if you recall, a year ago in February, March, April of last year, getting a vaccination was a matter of putting an appointment in for 90 days. Now it's a different scenario, even if it's the third shot. We will post a host of links on Facebook and on social media, Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on Twitter that will give you the information you can click on, and it breaks this down by age category. If you need the first dose of Pfizer, if you need the first dose of Moderna, if you need the second dose, all of the different permutations, you'll be able to click on a link and go directly to what you need in order to make an appointment. Do be patient because the appointments, while they're now limited based on the overall demand, they can still sell out. And so you have to try to be persistent as we've been through this whole pandemic to get the help you need. At the county center, by afternoon, by appointment only, Wednesdays through Fridays, and then also on Saturdays, this coming Saturday, February 12th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. COVID vaccines in Yonkers also have some set times. The county offers it through, of course, on Mondays from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., and appointments are encouraged in Yonkers, but walk-ins are welcome. And keep in mind, next Monday, 2 weeks from today, is a federal holiday. Next Monday is Valentine's Day, and that's a version of a holiday that you shouldn't forget.
Absolutely.
Speaking to our fellow members of the male gender. But 2 weeks from today is President's Day as celebrated as a federal holiday, and the normal Monday schedules will be suspended on that day. And there's a host of social media links that we're going to provide for each of these different things as well. The COVID-19 PCR tests, those aren't the home tests. These are the tests that get swabs and give you a more accurate reading. Those are available as well at the county center, set periods of times. Those must be done by appointment. And they're Mondays and Tuesdays 8 to 4, Wednesdays from 8 to 12, Thursdays from 8 to 2, and Fridays from 8 to 12. We will put all of this on the website, so if you didn't hear me as I was saying it, I was trying to speak a little slower than I normally do. And you make a quick note, but each day of the week there are certain time frames by which you can sign up for it, but you have to go online, westchester.com/health, to get an appointment to show for each of those, for any of those different times. These tests are targeted for people that are experiencing symptoms of COVID, and there's a wide range of them, obviously the runny nose, the flu-like symptoms, or if you know that you've been exposed to someone who tested positive for COVID-19. These results will be ready within 3 days. Appointments are required, and there's a place where you have to make an appointment account, and that is a .com as well, which you can click onto. Hopefully we're showing it on the screen. If we aren't, you'll get it from our website. You do need to bring your driver's license and a photo ID so we know who you are. Not everybody's as recognizable as Ken Jenkins out in public. And if you do want to have accurate results, there's a few things you have to do. Don't brush your teeth, use mouthwash. You should not smoke, vape, eat, drink, chew gum, mints, lozenges. There's always rules in the society. These things will affect your outcome of your test. You want a clean test. You want a test that properly shows your status. And if you get a clean bill of health, that's good news for you. You can go forward with your life. So there are some of those procedures that you have to take. The pediatric clinics, which are coming up in satellite locations, are coming up. And there's one that I just want to mention before I can mention all of them. We have today scheduled a clinic in the city of Mount Vernon from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So this report will end before the 3 o'clock time frame. If you're watching this in real time, this allows for a targeted pediatric vaccinations, first and second doses, sometimes third doses for those of a certain age and below, but also targeted for people who will walk in who have not been vaccinated. And this is at Lincoln Elementary School in the gymnasium. It's 170 East Lincoln Avenue, just west of the cross with Fulton Avenue. I lived not far from that area in my youth. If you are bringing a young person there, a parent or legal guardian must accompany them to give them the clearance to be able to get vaccinated. So we are looking to vaccinate those under the age of 11. We have Pfizer product that's going to be there, but as well, vaccinations are more broadly based as well for those that may need additional help. You can take a quick look on our website, and you might not even want to worry about the rest of this program if you can get there between 3 and 6. But we think that's a good way for you to help get yourself vaccinated and try to protect you. Now, we have a number of vaccination clinics coming up in other places. They are satellites. They're completely professional. There's nothing ad hoc about these. I go to them on a regular basis, and our healthcare professionals, our nurses, our other professionals are there. They do a terrific job, and here's some of the sites that are coming up. Ken will cover those with you. Ken Jenkins, our Deputy County Executive.
Thanks, George. Moving on to the next site, which is tomorrow, Tuesday, the 8th. We're going to have first, second, and booster shots that will be available. The third shot, as the county executive likes to point out, to make sure that you are fully vaccinated when it's appropriate. And that includes immunocompromised individuals and people under certain medical conditions. Those are listed at the county website and certainly at the CDC website if you're eligible for the third shot in the regimen, or second shot if you did Johnson & Johnson. Tomorrow, the 8th, at Elmsford from 3:30 to 6:30. So Elmsford tomorrow, pretty much the same scenario as in Mount Vernon today, the 7th. And then Thursday and Friday, we have our pediatric clinics that continue to go on Thursday from 3:30 to 6:30, and on Friday from 2:30 to 6 p.m. And again, for those, appointments are required, and for pediatric vaccinations, that means a parent or guardian must be present as well. So the children can't go there themselves, especially the young adults that may be eligible that are over 16 years old. In Westchester, they might be able to go back and forth driving. The fact of the matter is they still need a parent or guardians with them at those times. Next week, on Valentine's Day, as County Executive pointed out, it is a national holiday as far as I'm concerned, and the County Executive is pointing that out as well. First, second, and booster at JFK Elementary School in Portchester. And on Tuesday, in the Peekskill Family Resource Center, again, first, second, boosters or third shots that are going to be available then. The Thursday and Fridays opportunities at the county center are recurring, so we're not going to repeat those again, but we want to give people a week to try to prepare, especially in those areas that have been a little more challenging, Peekskill and Portchester today, Mount Vernon, and Elmsford tomorrow. So those are the pediatric clinics that we have coming up. Back to you, County Executive.
Thanks very much, Ken Jenkins, our Deputy County Executive. Just a few other topics to mention for our report today. The issue of masks has been quite controversial in our society. Lots of discussion about how long we have to wear them and under what circumstances. We saw today that Governor Phil Murphy of New Jersey announced a date in March, a month hence, in which masks will no longer be required in New Jersey public schools. I know that Governor Kathy Hochul, who has issued mask mandates, in fact, 3 separate mandates, and her team are assessing that. She said as much in her updates that they're looking at data on an ongoing basis, a 2-week basis, and making decisions about when and where the masks mandate may be lifted. My team here has been analyzing now in our government the nature of our functioning within county government. We control what happens inside county facilities, county office buildings, and other locations. As you know, we made decisions now 2 years ago to keep some facilities open and close some facilities. We notably kept open golf courses and nature trails and the recreational side. We had bicycle Sundays and kept them open, and at the same time we canceled ethnic festivals and certain other types of activities in respect to where were we with the infection numbers and whether or not we thought that a particular activity would advance the spread or not advance the spread. We have seen very good results inside county government from our efforts to vaccinate our employees. We have a number of departments that are 100% vaccinated, many of them very high percentage of vaccinations. We made no mandate, and we understood, there was a comparison to former Mayor de Blasio in New York City and his strategies and plans. But we have seen no outbreak of coronavirus tied to employment in the county government, not in any of our locations. When individuals have come down with COVID, they have isolated as necessary. We've quarantined people around them, and we've not seen the type of outbreaks that we saw in other contexts. So we believe our strategies have worked. When we saw the increase in Omicron, we issued an executive order for executive authority, which we would use if we needed it. We used it very judiciously. We helped implement the efforts to try to help people be masked by providing an extensive amount of masks to businesses and other facilities for which people would go into, and then also the information to post that so that this was a state mandate to do this, and we're trying to implement it. We know that some counties chose not to implement it, and that is where the philosophical divide came in. As I've said many times here and in other contexts, these masks are not a political statement. I don't personally like to wear the mask. I often forget to have the mask on me and have to go back to the office or back to the car or back to my home to remember to grab the mask to wear it when I'm out in public. I recognize that there are certain times and certain settings where the mask is more needed than at other times. And if I'm walking in an open area by myself outside, I don't need to have the mask on. I put the mask on when I'm in tight quarters with a number of people. The mandates that have been established by the state fall into a couple of different buckets. There are mandates that deal with school children. That is a separate mandate from the mandate that exists for very specialized kinds of facilities. The one that affects us is mass transit. We run a bus system, Beeline bus system, second largest ridership in the state after the New York City bus system. If you've been on Metro North into the city, if you've been on any New York City bus system, you'll know that masks are required in those settings, and you're sitting in an environment for 45 minutes to an hour with people who are not known to you. They don't know you, you don't know them. If any of them were to contract COVID, there'd be no way to contact trace and know that you were exposed and how you would isolate. So in that setting, it makes sense for there to be masks at this stage of the game. What happens in an office building where people know each other and can track each other is a different thing. So we're making those assessments and trying to determine. It's not merely just masks as well. We're talking about a range of everyday realities. What do we do with the county workforce that at times will go out in pairs of individuals to investigate something in the DSS or the health department when they're inspecting something? What do we do about elevator capacity, where an elevator is an extremely close quartered area? You look at how long it will take for a workforce to go from the lobby to whatever floor they're on and make some decisions about that. We make some decisions about our meetings. We put all of our county boards and commission meetings on virtual platforms because we felt that it was the smarter thing to do. Even something like the Trailblazers program, which is a very wonderful social connection with the African American Advisory Board, we are doing virtually this year, as we've done so many other things. So those are the kinds of decisions we're making to err on the side of reducing the spread. And the spread is dropping, which tells me that what we're doing is working in harmony with what's happening in the natural sciences, where Omicron is running its course. So I'm reasonably confident over the next few weeks, you'll see us open up certain policies. We'll do that in concert with the decisions being made by the governor and what's happening around us. I've often said that we're not an island, and what happens in the counties surrounding us, from the Bronx to Rockland, Putnam, Orange, Dutchess, Fairfield County, matters to us, because so many of us just cross those lines every day. But we will make intelligent decisions as the infection drops, which is what it's been doing for the next 4 weeks. It's my personal belief that we can begin to say goodbye to these in the appropriate time as we make sure that we've done our analysis. And we also reserve the right to reinstitute them if some other set of variables come in that we don't know about. We hope that we won't see another variant. We hope we won't see a variant that brings with it higher fatality or higher infectious negative capability. But if we can get to the point where we can say goodbye to masks and we can de-emphasize these things, we will. And it is not done for any reason other than to try to keep people safe. That is what we've done day one since we heard about the first case in Wuhan, China, and then we found that we had some cases right in our own backyard here in Westchester County, and those intelligent things will go forward. I think that the people of Westchester County, in the large percentage, have responded intelligently to this. We have a high vaccination rate without the mandate. People have been smart enough to know that the vaccine is not going to be injurious to them, and they're going to go forth and be vaccinated and be protected. There are some individuals, a very small percentage, who have health reasons not to be vaccinated, but the vast majority of us have been vaccinated, have benefited from it, and I'm not aware of any significant number of cases of people reacting badly to the vaccination, any more than we have for all the vaccinations that we've taken. I can certainly talk about it since my childhood, when I was vaccinated for about everything under the sun, and those vaccines came along in the 1950s. But we're assessing it. We're going to make an intelligent decision. And we're going to do that in concert with the governments around us, with great respect for the governor and the state. And hopefully what you'll see is, as this virus continues to shrink, you will continue to see us open up more of the society. Keep in mind where we were a year ago. A year ago, the prior governor had yellow zones and orange zones restrictions. There was an orange zone in Portchester, yellow zones in another 5 communities, which restricted certain things. We are not there now. We are not having those kinds of restrictions in the society. If you go back a little less than 2 years ago, in that spring when the explosion came of cases in April and May, we shut down whole industries. The governor of the day made decisions to shut down whole industries and said you can only have 25% of the people working 50%. We're light years away from that today. That's what the benefit of the vaccinations and other strategies have been, that we are more normal today than we were at any point in time during this pandemic. So when people talk about my rights are being restricted, I can't believe this. We're not making an accurate comparison to where we were a year ago. And a year ago, vaccines were just about a month in, and almost 2 years ago, where we had no tools, social distancing and wash your hands. And in that kind of a climate, we're making good progress. I think we're going to continue to make good progress. I believe that we're going to be back to much, much closer to normal. I expect to see sporting events, and I expect to see summertime concerts on the lawn of our various municipalities, and I intend to attend those concerts. And hopefully we can do it maskless and comfortable. But we're still a work in progress, and we will make announcements as we go along, as we can lift or adjust some of these policies to make it a little bit easier for everybody as we go through what I hope will be the tail end of this. Time will tell us. One other point I want to mention, and we're going to cover this in future updates, is where we are with our criminal justice system. We've had some recent situations where individual incidents of crime have been turned into sort of broad-based statements about the level of crime and how widespread it is. We're going to have an upcoming press conference with relevant people from our county police department. We're going to share with you the crime statistics and talk candidly about where we are. Westchester County is in a very good place as we stand right now. Our crime rate is very low. Whether we've seen an uptick in a certain type of crime versus what you might see on TV or what you might see in an individual case that's shared with you in a video, which wants you to believe that what you're seeing in the specific is now the generic, that it's happening everywhere. And we're going to address that. We'll address it intelligently. We'll address it with the members of the police force. Our county police department is a highly professional force. We have kept it as fully staffed as we can, more so than what we inherited when we walked in the door. We have professionals and we have programs and tools like real-time crime that assist us. We have professional detectives who know how to do the homework necessary to track down somebody who commits a crime. When I see a crime in a setting like a mall, I know that there are cameras around all over the place that can help identify who the person is, and that person will be brought to justice. And let us be clear, no one countenances the kind of heinous crime that you might see in a video like that. Anybody who says that it is playing politics with reality. The reality is we have a system of apprehending criminals, prosecuting them, and then meting out whatever the appropriate punishment is to that. It's an elaborate system, and most of that is not under the control of county government. But we have professionals, and we are tough on those people that break crimes in the way that you see that. And we're going to lay that out in the days to come in a future update, and we're going to have some of our professionals here to explain that. We want to give you the confidence that we're doing what we can do to try to make you safe, and we are. And we're having success at that. But incidents happen. Late at night in a particular setting, something bad happens. But it doesn't mean it's widespread. It does mean we try to make those incidents as rare as possible. And that's something we're looking forward to do. So as we deal with all of those issues coming forward, we certainly have a full plate. And we're working with our Board of Legislators on issues that will come up. We will, in our next update, which will be next Monday, Valentine's Day, don't forget that, we will invite another member of one of the levels of government to join us here, give an update, and we'll continue to work through, as I said, our municipal and our statewide and federal colleagues to give you some information. So now I'm going to turn to Catherine Chaffee, who's our Director of Communications, to see if we have any questions remotely from the press. Just so you know, we certainly invite the press to join us here in person if they choose, but we also know that they as individuals would like to stay clear of whatever amounts to the potential exposure by being out in public, and a full room of other reporters could expose them as well and their families. So we're happy to provide information in this feed, which any of the media outlets can take. They can take the sound for radio, they can take the sound and visual on television, they can take the content. I know that some of the folks who write do in fact summarize what we say in these updates, and when I see the next edition out, it summarizes some of the things we've talked about. But we also add to it by taking questions directly from the press, which they can channel through Catherine Chaffee. And, we tend to want to stay on county issues. If somebody asks me, who do I think will win the Super Bowl? I don't really think it matters much what I think, and I don't think you're tuning in to see that. So if these are issues that are broader based, if they're primarily federal issues, primarily municipal issues, direct it to where it is. But we do want to try to be open and as candid as we can be. So, Catherine Chaffee, any questions from the press?
Yes, we have two of them. The first one is from Eduardo from LoHUD. Mm-hmm. He asks, do you want to weigh in on Yonkers Mayor Mike Spano's comments about Congressman Jamal Bowman last week? Spano called for Bowman's arrest for his infrastructure vote and said Bowman was not in line with the people of Westchester and Yonkers.
Well, look, I think the comments are unfortunate. I know Mayor Spano. I consider him a friend. I think he made a very poor choice of comments, and it certainly would give people the impression that would offend people who are African American to comments like that. I also did hear the interview and the context within the interview, and it was more of a humorous comment, but you should never joke about things of that nature. Over the years, I've made comments that were either foolish or could be poorly interpreted. I think the cleanest thing to do is to apologize. I don't think the intent going forward is to project a racism, and it should be clear that that is the situation. And then, of course, as far as referencing any other elected official, I think we all do well to know that we've got campaigns coming up. There will be conflict in those campaigns. People will compete. Let that competition happen on a level platform and on a framework of debate over issues and not over the way you summarize them. But I do think, and I say this less for anybody else than for myself, we have to be careful of our language. It is very easy to offend. You may not intend to offend, but it is quite likely to be an offense. And to anybody who's had a different life than the ones you've had, if you are African American, if you are Latino, if you're female, if you're in the LGBTQ community, they have felt the sting of prejudice over an extended period of time. And for those of us who don't fall into any one of those categories, we have to be sensitive and try to watch how we say it. I do think that this is something that can be dealt with and corrected with an appropriate apology that may have already been done. I'm not aware that it has or hasn't, but I think the people involved, if there is a competition ahead, let them compete on a level platform without the the emotional hook.
And the next question, which is the last question, is also from Low HUD. It's from David Proper. He asks, any idea if the county center would continue to be a vaccine and/or testing site past February?
I think we will expect, David, to see the county center most likely into the second quarter of this year being used as a vaccination and testing center. If we knew the course of the infection and we knew for sure that Omicron was the last variant that could juice up the number of cases, then I could pick a date specific and say by July 1st we're going to shut it down for this purpose. We need to make some repairs to that facility for the 2 years now that it's been out of action, because it was out of action the minute the virus broke out. Even before we started to use it as a vaccination center, we could not use it as an arena for certain types of activities, which really hurt us because we were accustomed to having the basketball finals there. We made a big thing about having the Section 1 basketball finals back in 2020, which they did come back, and then right after that we had to close the facility. There are a lot of different exhibit shows that come there. I always joke about the reptile show. I am not going to see the reptile show. Somebody likes the reptile, so they want to go and see it. But they haven't been at the county center this time. So I'm afraid I don't see us being able to open the county center for a non-medical use at the earliest until very late this year, and that would assume that everything breaks the way where we don't need a singular facility like that. But what we have in the county center is a centrally located facility in Westchester County. It's run by the county government, so we don't have to negotiate how we use it. We have ample parking around it. The parkways of Westchester County and the highways of Westchester County reach it very favorably. So if we want a singular place to administer vaccinations or testing, that is the ideal place for it. When we do put pandemic response behind us at that facility, and we do take the 3 or 4 months, maybe 5 months, to get it back up to proper usage, we still have to have, and I've said this from my inaugural comments, we have to have a public discussion and a plan for where we go in the future of the county center. In general, the county center needs a full renovation and overhaul. Former county executive Andrew O'Rourke, blessed memory, made a major reconstruction of the building in the early 1980s. At that point in time, it was 50 years old. Now it's been almost 40 years since the reconstruction under County Executive O'Rourke, and it needs to be reconstructed or modernized again. Some of it is because there's technology, electronic equipment, and things that would happen, drop-down screens, things that would happen differently if you modernize the facility today to make it usable. And some of it is looking at the competitive facilities that are out there or may be out there to determine what's the market for this facility for the future. You have a fabulous Art Deco structure to this, and again, it's in a prime location. So, we intend to keep it as part of the county inventory of services and facilities. But what it's capable of doing in the months and years to come We'll fix it, we'll reopen it under the prior usages of it, but then we'll also have a policy debate, which I hope we can bring to fruition during my remaining tenure in office and lay a game plan out. And even if the ribbon isn't cut by me, but my successor cuts the ribbon, all the best, because we will have put ourselves on the right path. But I'm afraid with where we are at the medical need right now, I don't see us moving off of that through certainly the first quarter, most likely the second quarter, and we'll hope for the best. With that, we thank you for your attention and time. We wish you a happy and a safe week. We thank you for tuning in. We thank once again State Attorney General Tish James for being with us today, and we'll have somebody else back with us next week who will be equally interesting, and we hope you'll tune in then. I'm George Latimer, County Executive. Thanks for watching.